Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranams, Premasindhu Gaurananga Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranams.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandot Pranams to all. We welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nithyam Bhagavata Sevaya, as part of the Gaurakatha series for the upcoming Gaur Purnima. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Premasindhu Gauranga Prabhu, and Prabhu will enlighten us on Mahaprabhu's South India Yatra. Main discussion is that discussion with Ramananda Raya. Over to you, Prabhuji. You can start, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhantam. He Krishna Karuna Sandho Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you for today morning's Bhagavatam class. Today we'll be discussing about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversation with Ramananda Raya. So as part of this program that Gaur Purnima is approaching, we are discussing Gaur Leela. And today I have been asked to speak on Raya Ramananda Samvad. So this Raya Ramananda Samvad is actually a very elaborate topic, and many verses are there in this particular topic. And so it's very difficult to cover everything within a span of 40-50 minutes. So what I will do that I'll just give you a brief overview of what this Raya Ramanand Samvad is. What are the important factors around it? And we will discuss some very core questions which were asked and the answers which were given. So we will discuss these important questions which were asked during this conversation. And if we have more time, let's see if there is some more time remaining, then we can discuss about those questions also. So it's a very wonderful discussion. The whole gamut of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is covered in this conversation. And Ramananda Rai, he speaks about what is the highest conception of bhakti, and basically what is the highest thing which a spirit soul can do. So the Raya Ramananda Samvad, you all know, it comes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it is one of the most shining treasures in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is authored by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. That also you all know. And just like Krishna, he has so many ornaments on his body. Krishna wears so many ornaments on his body. But still, the Kaustubh Mani on Krishna's divine body is very, very special. And the Kaustubh Mani, it finds reference in so many different literatures where Krishna is described. So this Raya Ramananda Samvad, this is like the Kaustubh Mani in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is the transcendental conclusion which is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is like a jewel box, and inside that jewel box there is this Kaustubh Mani of Raya Ramananda Samvad. So Narottam Das Thakur, he writes about Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is a very exceptionally high class poet. And not only he is an exceptionally high class poet, he is also a devotee who is constantly experiencing the Krishna Prema, the Bhava. He is a Bhavuka. He is constantly immersed in experiencing the most elevated expressions of divine love, Krishna Prema. And he has composed this unprecedented text. So, in this particular verse from Prarthana, Prarthana is a book written by Narottam Das Thakur. So, which has all these Vaishnava songs which are written by Narottam Das Thakur, which contain the whole essence of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in form of songs. So, whenever someone will ask Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, what should I do to get Krishna Prem? And so Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is not a Goshthanand. He is not like a preacher who is going to tell us in a systematic way what to do, step 1, step 2, step 3. And so he was immersed in Krishna Prem, and so he will say that you will find Krishna Prem which is sold in 20 paisas in Kolkata, or something less, 5 paisas in Kolkata. And so people will not understand what is this. So he was referring to the book Prarthana by Narottam Das Thakur, which was sold that time by about 2 paisa or 5 paisa, whatever, in Kolkata. So in Prarthana, Narottam Das Thakur is telling about Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, that he is an exceptionally high-class devotional poet. Not only that, he is always immersed in bhava, and he has written these two unprecedented sacred texts. First is Chaitanya Charitamrita, which describes the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And second is Govinda Lilamrit, which depicts the pastimes of Govinda. And both these jewels are transcendental literature. They are the best of all contributions. So that's what Narottam Das Thakur says. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the king of devotional literature, the essence of all Vedanta. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Puarthu Mahan. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give Bhagavatam also. And Bhagavatam is considered as the birthplace of pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti. And Bhagavatam, it was revealed to Bhagwan Shri Dvaipayana Vyas, who is a very powerful incarnation of Krishna himself. So Bhagavatam is revealed to Vyasadeva in his devotional trance, in his devotional ecstasy that we read in the first canto. Similarly, these two books which are mentioned by Narottam Das Thakur, Govinda Lilamrit and Chaitanya Charitamrit, they are also the essence of all Vedanta, Purana, and everything, Itihasas. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes in Chaitanya Charitamrit that this Chaitanya Charitamrit, I am not writing it. So, Madan Mohan, who is the deity of Sanatan Goswami, that Madan Mohan is narrating to me this Chaitanya Charitamrit. And just like a parrot who repeats what he has heard from another person, I am just writing it down. So I am like a parrot or a wooden puppet dancing to the desire of Madan Mohan. So why I am saying all this? Because we have to understand that this divine literatures, they are directly coming from Krishna himself. And in books like Govinda Lilamrit or Raya Ramananda Samvad, the subject matter is very high, and it may not be appreciated by neophytes. So specifically Govinda Lilamrit, it has all the esoteric pastimes of the divine couple, which are meant for someone who has overcome anarthas to a great extent, and he wants to cultivate ruchi, attraction to Krishna. So once Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he went to his father, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and he asked, Father, I want to publish Govinda Lilamrit. And so Bhakti Vinod Thakur did not reply anything. And so Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he asked this question to Bhakti Vinod Thakur a couple of times. And still Bhakti Vinod Thakur didn't reply. And then after third time, when he asked again, Bhakti Vinod Thakur said that, okay, you can publish Govinda Lilamrit, but just publish one copy, that is for yourself. Don't distribute it. So the point to understand here is that in the course of general preaching, when the general audience is there, Prabhupada always focused on Bhagavad Gita. But he gave to us Chaitanya Charitamrit and Bhagavatam also to relish. So at the same time, there are also literatures like Govind Lilamrit, which are meant for developing ruchi, developing genuine attraction to the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, which is the true essence or the goal of all Gaudiya Vaishnavas ultimately. So either today, tomorrow, or in some lifetime, that is our ultimate goal. And so in this Raya Ramananda Samvad also, Mahaprabhu, who is the Mahaprabhu, establishes that the love of Srimati Radharani is the crest jewel of all the attainments which can be ever attained by anybody. What to speak of only Gaudiya Vaishnavas? Anybody. So later in the conversation, Ramananda Raya, he is describing a very elevated state of devotional love also, which is called as Prema Vilas Vivarta. So this Prema Vilas Vivarta is a very high level of Prema Bhakti, which is experienced by Srimati Radharani. So at the time of separation from Krishna, due to the influence of a level of Krishna Prem which is known as Adhiruda Mahabhav. So we have read in Nectar of Devotion that after Krishna Prem, then there are various levels of Krishna Prem. And the topmost degree of Krishna Prem is Mahabhav. So there is one type of Mahabhav which is called as Adhiruda Mahabhav, where Srimati Radharani feels that she is meeting with Krishna. And upon hearing of this supremely exalted state, which was described by Ramananda Raya, then Mahaprabhu accepted that as the soul's ultimate goal, to achieve that kind of love which is experienced by Srimati Radharani. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also accepted that following in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan is the only method by which one can attain this ultimate goal. So Ramya Kachid Upasana Brajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. So again, Mahaprabhu has come to give that. And by hearing with complete faith this conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one will achieve Prema Bhakti to the lotus feet of the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. And automatically, as a secondary result, one will also achieve the complete knowledge of Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, Prema Tattva, and Rasa Tattva. So, the love to the divine couple, it consists everything. So, if one achieves that, then automatically he gets complete knowledge of all the tattvas, Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, Prema Tattva, Rasa Tattva, all the fundamental truths regarding the Supreme Lord and his eternal consort, Srimati Radharani, and also the love which they share between each other. So this variety of exchanges between Krishna and his intimate devotees, that is also the part of conversation of between Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu. So Ramananda Rai, so in actually he is Vishakha Sakhi in Krishna Leela, and in Mahaprabhu's Leela, he comes as Ramananda Rai, Raya Ramananda. So he is playing the part of a governor. Some say prime minister, some say governor. Some say that he was governor of the southern regions, near what is that place? Rajmundri area. And some people say that he was like a prime minister of Prataprudra. So mostly he would stay in the Vidyanagar area, which is on the bank of Godavari river. And present day it is near Rajmundri, where we have a beautiful ISKCON temple also. And Ramananda Rai, he was performing his administrative duties as an associate of Maharaj Prataprudra, who was the king ruling in Odisha. So in his journey to South India, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took darshan of so many temples. And after taking the darshan of Jiyad Narsimha, so this very famous Narsingha temple, Jiyad Narsimha, he went to the bank of Godavari in the early morning to take bath. And Ramananda Rai, he was also there taking bath. And Ramananda Rai, he was, because he was royalty, he was like the prime minister of that area. So he was surrounded by his servants. Then there were Brahmanas who were chanting Vedic mantras and all the royal paraphernalia. So he was there, in a pomp. And there, Mahaprabhu met Ramananda Rai for the first time at the banks of Godavari. And that place is still there. Now there is a temple there. The temple was established by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that place where the first meeting took place, there it is still there on bank of Godavari. So Sri Ramananda Rai, he invited Mahaprabhu to spend few days in that particular place. And on Ramananda Rai's insistence, Mahaprabhu, he accepted the invitation. So many times Mahaprabhu, when he was traveling on his South Indian tour, he will stay at some Brahmana's house or honor prasad in some Brahmana's house for few days and then he'll move on. And so uh, he accepted the invitation of Ramananda Rai and he was staying in the house of one Vaishnava Brahman near Godavari. And then eventually one day during dusk, Ramananda Rai, he came wearing the dress of an ordinary person and not surrounded by his royal paraphernalia and associates. He came to the bank of Godavari to meet Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu instructed Ramananda Rai to present statements from various Vedic literatures. um, so Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to present these statements from Vedic literature, which are a living entity's sadhya. Sadhya means ultimate goal. And also he asked him to tell about the sadhan. Sadhan means the way how you attain the sadhya or the goal. So sadhan and sadhya both. So definitely Mahaprabhu, he wants to bring out the glories of pure devotional service, and who else is there other than Vishakha Sakhi, who can bring out the very essence of devotional service and also the topmost platform of Madhurya Bhakti. So initially Ramananda Rai, he started telling many things as what is the ultimate sadhya or the ultimate goal for a living entity who's wandering around in this material universe. So initially he spoke few things about Varnashram Dharma, and Mahaprabhu said that Varnashram, I want to hear something other than Varnashram, so something higher. So Varnashram, uh, Mahaprabhu said Varnashram is not highest. So now we have to understand one thing here, that Mahaprabhu wants to establish the highest principle of devotional ecstasy, devotional relationships here. And that is why he is saying that, okay, so tell me something other than Varnashram or higher than Varnashram. But Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, specifically Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he has explained in Chaitanya Shikshamrit that Varnashram is like a proper framework for the society. And in that also Bhakti Vinod Thakur explains three types of Varnashram. One is the Vedic Varnashram, Daiva Varnashram, and Asuri Varnashram. So Daiva Varnashram, which means that one does his occupational duties of Varna and Ashram for pleasure of Krishna, keeping Krishna in center. What Krishna has been telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita all throughout. That is Daiva Varnashram. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there that the proper framework of the society is very much required. Otherwise, there will be chaos. People will become sentimental, or they will become savages, and they will not know what is the proper duty to be performed. That is why the framework of Varnashram, specifically Daiva Varnashram, is required. But when someone is he crosses over the stages of anarthas and he is starting to move towards bhava and prema, then he is no more required to follow those uh, systems or tenets of varnashram. It depends on one's situation also. If someone is a grihastha, then he should follow certain items of varnashram which are favorable to his devotional service, just like Janak Maharaj or Arjuna, they follow. If someone is a renounced order, then he need not after a certain point of time, except for one aspect of varnashram, which is not associating with opposite sex. So this tenet is for everybody, whether in renounced order or grihastha. Apart from that, someone who is very advanced, he need not follow varnashram. Although for loka sangraha or preaching to people, devotees still follow this. So they follow the principles which are favorable. They may not follow the principles which are not favorable, like kamya karmas or the karmas which are meant for fulfilling specific material desires. So anyway, so Ramananda Rai was told that please tell me something beyond varnashram. And so Mahaprabhu is prodding Ramananda Rai to speak like this. So initially, after this varnashram, then Mahaprabhu Ramananda Rai suggested that this Jnana Shunya Shuddha Bhakti as the goal. Jnana Shunya Shuddha Bhakti means the bhakti which is not contaminated by jnana and karma. So that we read in Nectar of Devotion that Anya Bilashita Shunya Jnana Karma Adhyanarutam. So what is the meaning of the devotional service which is devoid by jnana and karma? Is it that the devotees give up karma and jnana? No, it's not like that. For example, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is a pure devotee, but still he is going to do his duty as a Kshatriya. But the important thing to understand here is that Arjuna is not a Kshatriya who is performing Bhakti Yoga. That is a wrong conception. Arjuna is a Bhakta who has taken up the role of a Kshatriya because that is favorable for his execution of devotional service and that is what Krishna desires. So, first, someone is a devotee and then he might be in any occupation. So, that is the meaning of Jnana Karma Dhyanarthan. One might be very knowledgeable, Jnani also, but first he is a devotee. And if his profession requires him to be a Jnani, then he can do that also. So that is the meaning of Jnana Karma Dhyanarthan. It doesn't mean that everybody leaves their occupation and becomes Babaji. So Jnana Shunya Shuddha Bhakti, that Krishna also teaches towards the end of Bhagavad Gita. So Jnana Shunya Shuddha Bhakti. So Mahaprabhu likes this very much. And he said that yes, this is a very good goal for any living entity. So asked by Mahaprabhu to say more about bhakti, Ramananda Rai first explained about pure attraction to Krishna. And then what is pure attraction to Krishna, which is devoid of other desires. So something which is meant only for pleasing Krishna or attracting Krishna. So pure devotional service. In Vishnu Puran, there is a verse where Garuda Puran, there is a verse where Garuda is saying that out of so many karmis, there are some good karmis, or basically karmi means someone who is following the karma kanda section of the Vedas. And out of them, few will become jnanis, and some are very expert in jnana. They have achieved the Brahma Bhuta platform. And out of some Gyanis, these expert Gyanis, then some will take to devotional service after few lifetimes. And so he says Vishnu Bhaktas there. And out of so many Vishnu Bhaktas, he says, there is one Vishnu Bhakta who is Ekantika. It means that he is doing one pointed devotional service, or basically the devotional service is not mixed with other desires. This is Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, it is called as. And so that kind of Vishnu Bhakta is very rare, and he is sure to attain Parampada, Gola or Vaikunta. So then Ramananda Rai is explaining about the proper mood of attraction to Krishna. And then successively he describes love for Krishna in the mood of Dasya. So these different moods, the 5 moods, primary and the other secondary moods, and there are other moods also. So all these moods are described in detail only in Gaudiya Vaishnava literature. In no other sampradaya, the science of Madhurya Bhakti is explained in so much detail as it is explained by Rupa Goswami. So this is a very special position of our sampradaya. So Ramananda Rai, he is first explaining about, first he establishes attraction to Krishna, pure attraction. Then he tells about Dasya Bhava. Then eventually Sakhya, Vatsalya, like that. And finally he explains the Kanta Prema. Kanta Prema means the love which the beloved gopis and manjaris and the female associates of Krishna in Madhurya Prema, they experience. And that is the ultimate crest jewel of all the attainments for any living entity. So, on the platform of so many varieties of scriptural evidence, Ramananda Rai shows that how this Kanta Prem, that is accepting Krishna as one's lover, that that type of prema is the essence of all perfection. So Ramananda Rai's conversation, it leads us in that direction. And when Mahaprabhu, he accepts Kanta Prem as the soul's ultimate goal, then Ramananda Rai, he goes on to describe what is the epitome of that Kanta Prema. So that epitome or fountainhead of that Kanta Prema is Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. And after hearing this from Ramananda Rai, Mahaprabhu becomes very pleased, and he asks him to describe the nature of Krishna and Srimati Radharani. So Krishna Tattva and Radha Tattva, and also the nature of Rasa Tattva. That what is the rasa, what is the mellow of this Madhurya Rasa, the details of this Madhurya Rasa, and Prema Tattva, what is the Tattva of this love between Radha and Krishna. So again, Ramananda Rai, he uses certain examples from various scriptures, and he gives a very detailed sequential account of these topics. And when Sriman Mahaprabhu explained or instructed him um, to explain this subject matter more extensively, then Ramananda Rai, he sang a self-composed song. So basically, Mahaprabhu wants to bring out this highest sadhya, and Ramananda Rai is speaking this. So Mahaprabhu always wants to give glory to his devotees. So he could have done it himself, but he does not do it. So he asked Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami to write something. He asked Ramananda Rai to speak about the glories of this Madhurya Rasa. And so uh, Mahaprabhu is very happy to get this explanation from Ramananda Rai. And then to explain about the topmost level of this love which Radharani experiences, then Ramananda Rai he sings the self-composed song to Mahaprabhu. And that song is extolling the state of prema, uh, or rather prema vilas vivarta. So which is composed of the feeling of separation from Krishna, which Radharani experiences in the highest level of Krishna Prem, which is Adhiruda Bhava, Adhiruda Mahabhava. So, what is this Adhiruda Mahabhava? It is the final limit of Mahabhava or Krishna Prem, and it is the very essence of Krishna's pleasure giving potency. So, Adhiruda Mahabhava is characterized by the feeling that each moment is like a day of Brahma when uh, the beloved is separated from Krishna. And when the beloved is with Krishna, then every day of Brahma is like a moment. So that is the characteristic of Madhiruda Mahabhava. So finally, upon the request of Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Rai established this exclusive cultivation of devotional service under the guidance of the Brajagopis. And he said that the only way to attain this very high state of perfection is uh, direct service to the Brajagopis of Vrindavan, to become the servant of servant, Gopi Bhartur Padatamadaya, or Das Das Anudas. So, attaining the ultimate perfection of Radha Krishna's direct loving service, that is the perfection which was established. And after many nights of continuously hearing and discussing topics about this wonderful subject matter about Radha and Krishna, and then Mahaprabhu also gave direct darshan to Ramananda Rai, direct darshan of his Mula Tattva, his true identity as Radha and Krishna. So that darshan, his Swaswarup, his original Swarupa as Radha and Krishna, that darshan was received by Ramananda Rai. And after getting that darshan, Ramananda Rai, he fell unconscious. So with the supreme cooling touch of the lotus hands, Mahaprabhu, he caressed Ramananda Rai and again woke him up from his devotional ecstasy. And after releasing him from his embrace, Mahaprabhu told that please do not reveal this identity to anybody, what I have just shown you. So, Mahaprabhu, he ordered Ramananda Rai to later on abandon his royal duties. Although he was holding a very responsible position of a governor, but Mahaprabhu requested that please you can request Pratap Rudra that if you can be relieved. And after being relieved, you can shift to Jagannath Puri where I am staying. And in Jagannath Puri, we will stay together happily. And in complete happiness, we will hear and chant these topics of Radha Krishna's prema for rest of our life. So like this, Mahaprabhu told him. So Now in this conversation, so many questions come, wonderful questions and answers which are given by Ramananda Rai. So since we don't have much time here to discuss this in detail, actually it's a very nectarian topic. So what I will do, I will just read out some questions and I will tell you the answer of those questions which was given by Ramananda Rai. And if some time remains, then we can discuss a couple of them later on in detail. So one of the questions asked by Mahaprabhu is, what is the topmost knowledge? So we should remember that Mahaprabhu here is asking the topmost thing which is ever possible in that particular field for a living entity. He is not asking that, okay, in jnana what is topmost or in karma what is topmost. No. This is the topmost thing which is ever possible for any living entity in that particular field. So Mahaprabhu is asking, what is the topmost knowledge? And so Ramananda Rai says, of all types of knowledge, Krishna Bhakti is the essence of all knowledge. And apart from Krishna Bhakti, there is no other type of knowledge. Then Mahaprabhu asks, what is the most glorious act which a living entity can ever perform? So we are conditioned souls trapped in this material universe, and we are trapped here because we want to become glorious. But the problem is that in this, because we want to become glorious, we also become trapped. So he is asking that what is the most glorious activity? So Ramananda says that out of all the glorious activities of the jiva, the most glorious which the jiva can perform or he can be is to be called as a devotee of Krishna. If he can be called as a devotee of Krishna, then that is the topmost glory for the jiva. Then he also, Mahaprabhu is asking, what is the greatest treasure for a living entity? And so Ramananda says that whoever possesses the wealth of prema to Radha and Krishna, he is the wealthiest. There is no other treasure more than that. Then Mahaprabhu asks, what is the greatest distress? What could be the greatest distress? And so Ramananda says, separation from devotees of Krishna. That is the greatest distress or misery. And there is no suffering which is worse than this, to be separated from devotees of Krishna. Then Mahaprabhu asks him, who is truly liberated? So there are so many definitions of liberation in this world. So Sayujya Mukti is there, merging in Brahman. And even when it comes to going to spiritual planets, there are different types of liberation. So Ramananda Rai says that who has prema for Krishna is the crown jewel of all liberated persons. So someone who has developed Krishna prema, he is the crown jewel of all the liberated persons. And then Mahaprabhu asks, what is the greatest song? Gana Madhya Kona Gana. So which is the greatest song? And so Ramananda Rai said that the songs which describe Radha Krishna's love-filled pastimes. So Prema Keli Leela, Radha Krishna Prema Keli Leela. So they are the vital, or they are the best of all the songs. And Mahaprabhu asks, what is the most beneficial activity? So, what is the most beneficial activity which a jiva can ever do? So, Ramananda Rai says that there is no activity or pursuit which is more auspicious than to associate with Krishna's devotees. That is the most auspicious. There is nothing more auspicious activity than that. And then Mahaprabhu asks that who should the living entity remember at every moment? Kahara smarana jiva karibe anukshana. So Ramananda Rai replies that the principal objects to keep in mind are Krishna's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. So Krishna Nama Guna Lila Pradhana Smarana. Krishna's Nama Guna Lila, they are to be remembered at every moment. Then Mahaprabhu is asking, what is the most important meditation? And Ramananda Rai says, Radha Krishna Padambuja Dhyana. The most important meditation is the contemplation of the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Then Mahaprabhu asks, where one should reside? So, Sarvatyaji Jivera Kartavya Kaha Vas. That leaving everything where he should reside. And so, Ramananda Rai says, Shri Vrindavana Bhumi Yahara Nitya Lila Rasa. So, Brajabhumi, which is the Rasa Sthali, Nitya Rasa Sthali of Radha and Krishna, there one should reside. So, what is Rasa? Rasa means it is the sum total of all the rasas. So, sum total of all rasa is Rasa. So, Radha and Krishna's Rasa dance, from that Rasa dance, all the other rasas they emanate. So, Rasa is the source of the rasa. And Vrindavan is the eternal place of Rasa Bhumi. So, one should reside there. And then Mahaprabhu says, what is the best topic to hear? Shravana Madhye Jivera Kona Shrestha Shravana. And so, again, he says that hearing about the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna is like a medicinal tonic for the ears. Karna Rasayan. He says that Radha Krishna Prema Keli Karna Rasayan. It is the best of all. And Mahaprabhu asks, what is the most worshipable object? Upasyera Madhye Kon Upasya Pradhan. So then Ramananda Rai says, the most worshipable object, Shrestha Upasya Yugala Radha Krishna Nam. The holy names of the Yugala Jodi, the divine couple, Radha Krishna, they are the chief worshipable object. Because the Yugal Nam is more merciful than the Yugala. So that is why it is most worshipable. And then he asks, what is the fate of those who are desiring liberation? And the fate of those who are desiring sense gratification. So anyway, like this, so many questions Mahaprabhu is asking here. And Ramananda Rai is replying. So I think we can stop the class here. And if there are some questions, you can ask. If there was more time, we could have gone into details of some of these. We are very interesting, but we'll just go ahead with question answers now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for providing very nice summary and overview of Samvad between Ramananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees, I have unmuted the line. You may please post your questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's very, very interesting and a very deep subject, that conversation between Ramananda Raya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhu, the last one, 13th one, that is the fate of those who are desiring liberation. You have not given the answer.
Yeah, so those who are desiring sense gratification, then they can go to heavenly planets. They can stay with the demigods. And uh, the fate of those who desire liberation, then basically Ramananda Rai says that those who desire liberation, uh, they go to the bodies of non-moving species. So perhaps here Ramananda Rai is referring to rejecting the personality of Krishna as supreme, which is considered as offensive. And so Vaishnavas consider it as very offensive and sinful actually. And so he says that they may go to the bodies of non-moving species. But of course, there are other types of liberation also. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So this Brahma Bhuta platform or Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Shochati na Kamshati. So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying about this Brahma Bhuta platform, which is basically liberation. So our acharyas explain that the Brahma Bhuta platform can be used by everybody. If they want liberation of merging in Brahman, that can also be called as Brahma Bhuta platform. Because na shochati na kangshati. They have the characteristics of no, they don't lament and desire anything. And those who are devotees, those who are practicing devotional service, they can also use the word or the term Brahma Bhuta. So the understanding of Brahma Bhuta for devotees is that Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas. They are servant of Krishna. So both are liberated, but liberation is of different types. But here Ramananda Rai says that they could go to the bodies of non-moving living entities. So perhaps there he is referring to Mayavad philosophy and not the Brahmavadis. So Mayavad philosophy is considered as sinful because they reject the existence of the personality of Godhead. So they might degrade further. The Brahmavadis, they will merge in Brahman, which is also liberation. All right.
If it is non-moving bodies, means it's like trees and uh, things like that, Prabhu.
Yes, must be something like that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have one question, Prabhuji. So you mentioned about three type of Varnashrama quoted by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. One is Devi Varnashrama, which is explained by Srila Prabhupada. And also you mentioned about the other two Varnashrama like Vedic Varnashrama and Asuric Varnashrama. What is that, Prabhuji?
So Vedic Varnashram is the Varnashram which is described in the Vedas. Krishna also describes that Vedic Varnashram in Bhagavad Gita in some of the verses, wherein one is born in a family of Brahmanas. Of course, it's not applicable in Kali Yuga. In previous times, let's say a Brahmana and Brahmani, they marry. And in those times, the Vedic customs and traditions were fixed up. And so a Brahmana and Brahmani, they will attract a Brahmana child. And they will follow all the rules and regulations of what a Brahmana is supposed to do. For example, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita tells about what are the expected qualities of all the four Varnas. In the 18th chapter, he says this. So they will follow all the qualities which are expected out of a Brahmana, but they may not be devotees. For example, there is Shukracharya. You know, Shukracharya is considered as a great Brahmana. His name comes in Bhagavad Gita also. He is one of the Vibhutis. So, but when Shukracharya is trying to misdirect Bali Maharaj, then Krishna is not chastising him. Vamana Dev is not chastising him. So Brahmana may be Brahmana in his duties, but he may not be a devotee. He may not be having the conception of supreme pure devotion. So that is also possible. So that is Vedic Varnashram, where one follows his duties very perfectly, but it may not be centered around Krishna. So everybody might have a different conception of supreme. Some Brahmana might be demigod worshipper, some will be Shaivite, some will be Vaishnava. In Vaishnava also, some will be Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, like that. So everybody practices their own conception, and it's not necessarily centered around Vishnu only. So that is called as Vedic Varnashram, where the understanding is that, let's say, Vaishya is practicing Vedic Varnashram. He is strictly following the duties of the Vaishya. So after his death, in next life, he will be promoted as a Kshatriya. And then in the next life, he will be promoted as a Brahmana. So that is a gradual progression in Vedic Varnashram. But in Daiva Varnashram, the gradual progression is rejected. So Daiva Varnashram accepts the framework and the duties of the Vedic Varnashram, but it rejects the philosophy of Vedic Varnashram. So Daiva Varnashram is centered around doing all the duties for pleasure of Krishna, whether one is in any Varna and ashram. And so as a result, he need not have to go through this step-by-step elevation to next Varna. He can directly attain the abode of the Supreme Lord after his current lifetime. This concept is also explained in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. So, and this is what Krishna is asking Arjuna to do. So, even if someone is a Kshudra, after that lifetime, if he is a sincere devotee of practicing devotion, he can go back to Godhead. He need not become a Brahmana and then Vaishnava. That is not required. So, everything is centered around Krishna. So, Deva Varnashram is not possible in society at large. In society at large, always the Vedic Varnashram is prevalent. Because in material world, there are souls who have different desires. So some will worship demigods, some will worship different types of people. Conceptions of supreme are different. So in society at large, always the Vedic Varnashram will be prevalent. If that's a dharmic society, we are not speaking about now current society, in previous ages. But in the society of Vaishnavas, it is possible to implement Daiva Varnashram. Or if the king himself is a Vaishnava, then that Daiva Varnashram can be established, which is very, very rare actually. For example, in the kingdom of Ambarish Maharaj, it is possible. In the kingdom of Yudhishthir Maharaj, it is possible. Or if one of the incarnations of Vishnu is ruling, like Prithu Maharaj, or if Krishna or Ram, they are themselves ruling over, then it is possible. Otherwise, it is very rare. Mostly it is Vedic Varnashram which is prevalent in the society. And Asuri Varnashram is the Varnashram which is demoniac Varnashram. It is based on birth, not qualification. So, if you are born in particular Varna, then even if you don't have the qualification, you are considered to have that kind of Varna. And which is the cause of downfall of the Varnashram system. So that is called as Asuri Varnashram, which is demoniac Varnashram, which is prevalent today. So they are the three types of Varnashram which are described.
Thank you, Prabhuji. One follow-up question on this. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he has established the Varnashrama Dharma. So all these three Varnashrama are established by Krishna, or how to understand that, Prabhuji?
So actually the original conception of Varnashram is Daiva Varnashram. So Swanushtita, what is that verse? Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. In Bhagavatam that verse comes. Varnashrama Vibhagashaha, it ends with Samsiddhim Haritoshanam. So in many Puranas it is there. In Vishnu Purana, there is a very detailed description of this. That how Varnashram is Deva Varnashram. So, but in Bhagavatam also this verse is there, which I am remembering. I don't remember the whole verse. So, the original conception of Varnashram is Deva Varnashram only. That Varnashram is meant for Samsiddhim Hari Poshanam. It is meant for satisfying Hari. So, that is the Varnashram system which Krishna establishes. But as I told you, it is only possible when Krishna is there or the king who is ruling over is Vaishnava. So then at other times, the conception of Varnashram degrades to Vedic Varnashram, which is still a good platform for the upkeep of society. And in Kali Yuga, then there is no Varnashram, or there is Asuri Varnashram. So Krishna comes to establish Daiva Varnashram.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for wonderful explanation. Hare Krishna devotees, any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in that Madhyalila Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the conversation between Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, there is one verse, Prabhuji, where Srimati Radharani leaves the Rasa dance and disappears. What is the reason for that, Prabhuji?
So Acharyas give many reasons for that. Krishna leaves the Raslila, that you are saying, right?
No, Radha leaves the Rasa dance. Prabhuji.
Radharani leaves the Raslila.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I'll have to check. I'm not sure about this. I have to read and check. I don't remember this.
Actually, this question was asked to us by our Siksha Guru. So, still trying to find out the answer.
I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Krishna leaving the Raslila, that I remember. That explanation which comes in the 10th canto. But this one I do not remember. So you have to ask someone else.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams.
I think there are no other questions, Prabhuji. Maybe we can end the class with the Vaishnava Pranam, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you again, Prabhuji, for giving time and sharing the nectar from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in and wishing you a very auspicious Gaur Purnima celebration. And we'll pray at the lotus feet of Giriraj here that Mahaprabhu showers his choicest blessings on all of you. And we also attain the level which Ramananda Rai has spoken to Mahaprabhu. By Mahaprabhu's mercy, we can attain that. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaः. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna devotees, I am ending the Zoom session.